Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And hi to Dr. Hasinda and friends. We are from ndary. We present Chapter 5, Auditing Database Management Systems, Part 2, which consists of DBMS controls and security, and also the audit procedures for DBMS. My name is Nurusna binti Muhammad Asmi. I will start with the definition. So, what is database security? Database security is defined as the process by which confidentiality, integrity, and availability of the database can be protected. It also refers to collective measures used to protect and secure a database or database management software from illegitimate use and malicious threats and attacks. So, it includes a multitude of process, tools, and methodologies that can ensure the security within the database environment. It also encompasses a range of security controls designed to protect the DBMS. There are three types of database security measures, which the first one includes protecting the underlying infrastructure that houses the database, such as network and the servers. And the second one is securely configuring the DBMS, and the third one is access to the data itself. So, why is the database security important? Database security is important to safeguard the data of a company or an organization, and it helps to protect the enterprise from the first one, deployment failure, which it helps to prevent a company from having difficulties in sharing the data. And the second one is the excessive privilege. Excessive privilege means that when a user have excessive access to the data, it should be only authorized person that can have access to the data. And the third is privilege abuse. When many users or many people can access to the data, so it is called privilege abuse because it should be only authorized person who can access to the data. Next is platform vulnerabilities, and after that I manage sensitive data, backup data, exposure, weak authentication, and also database injection attacks. And database security is also important to prevent loss of data, prevent the theft of data, and also to prevent from malware attack. Next is measures of control. Measures of control can be broadly divided into the following categories: access control, flow control, and the data encryption. So, for the access control, it includes security mechanisms in a database management system to protect against unauthorized access. Only legitimate users can access the data, and they are limited to what they can access in the database. And next is flow of control. Flow of control is the distributed systems encompasses a lot of data flow from one site to another and also within a site. Flow control prevents data from being transferred in such a way that it can be accessed by unauthorized agents. For example, a flow policy lists out the channels through which information can flow. It also defines security classes for the data as well as the transactions. And the third one is the data encryption. Data encryption refers to coding the data when sensitive data is to be communicated over public channels. For example, even if an unauthorized person or agent have access to the data, but he or she cannot understand the data since the data is in an incomprehensible format. Next is the database security concepts. There are three main aspects in the database security concepts: the confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So these three main aspects we call as the CIA triad. So the confidentiality means that the data, object, and resources are protected from unauthorized viewing and other access. The threats to database for the confidentiality is the loss of confidentiality, for example, the unauthorized entry by hackers. Next is the integrity. Integrity means that the data is protected from unauthorized changes to ensure that it is reliable and correct. So the threats to database for integrity is loss of integrity, for example, program and data alteration. And the third one is availability. Availability means that the authorized users have access to the systems and the resources they need. And the threat of the availability is loss of availability. So we move further to what is confidentiality. Confidentiality, it also ensure that no one can read our data unless we want them to. And it also protect the data from any unauthorized users and ensure that users are allowed to do things they are allowed to do only. For example, the employees should not see the salaries of their managers since the data or information is confidential. And next is the integrity. Integrity it ensure that no one can manipulate the data unless we want them to. And it protects the database from authorized users and ensures that what the users are trying to do is correct. For example, an employee should be able to modify his or her own information but not other colleagues because the data is protected from unauthorized changes. Only the authorized person can make changes to their data. And the third one is availability. Availability ensure that we can access our data or conduct our processing when we want to. And authorized users should be able to access data when necessary. For example, the payment orders regarding taxes should be made on time by the tax law, because it helps the user to have information about the taxes, and they can get the resources whenever they need it.
Okay, next I will explain 5 methods how we can secure our database. The first method is authentication. Okay, authentication is the process of verifying the identity of a person. It is a mechanism which determines whether a user is who he or she claims to be. In database, this is often done by means of password and user ID combination. Authentication does not give any privileges for particular tasks. It only establishes that the DBMS trusts the user is who he or she claims to be, and that the user trusts that the DBMS is also the intended system he or she wants to access. A system administrator is responsible for allowing users to have access to system by creating individual user accounts. Also, in addition, authentication is a prerequisite for our next method to secure the database, which is authorization. Moving on, authorization is the granting of a privilege that enables the user to have a legitimate access to a system. They are sometimes also referred as access control. It relates to the permission granted to an authorized user to carry out particular transaction and hence change the state of the database or receive data from the database. The process of authorization involves authenticating the user requesting access of object. There are also several types of authorization. The first type of authorization is read authorization, which allows reading but not modification of data. The second authorization is insert authorization. It allows insertion of new data but not modification of existing data. The third authorization is update authorization, which allows modification but not deletion of the data. And lastly, the deletion authorization only allows the deletion of data. The next method to secure the database is views. A view is a virtual relation that does not actually exist in the database, but it is produced upon request by a particular user at the time of request. By using views, you can expose only the data relevant to the user depending on his or her role. For example, a clerk in a firm need not to know about the salary of every employee in the organization. So when we are using views, the clerk may get to see other data about every employee, such as the email and address, but not the salary data. So we can see that the views mechanism provides a powerful and flexible security mechanism by hiding parts of the database from certain user. This user might not aware of the existence of any attributes or roles that are missing from the views. We're moving on to the next method to secure the database, which is encryption. Encryption is the decoding of data by a special algorithm that renders the data unreadable by any program without the decryption key. It also protects the data transmitted over communication lines. Okay, how this data encryption work is, data encryption is a key-based access control system. So even if the encrypted data is received, it cannot be understood until authorized decryption occurs, which is automatic for users authorized to access the table. When the table contains the encrypted columns, a single key is used regardless of the number of encrypted columns. This key is called the column encryption key. This column encryption key for all tables containing encrypted columns are encrypted with the data server master encryption key and stored in a dictionary table in the database. The master encryption key is stored in an external security module that is outside the database and accessible to the security administrator only. Data encryption has so many advantages. The first advantage is as a security administrator, one can ensure that sensitive data is safe in case of the storage media data files get stolen. The thief of the file could not read the data without the encryption key. Okay, next advantage is you do not need to create triggers or views to decrypt data. Data from tables is decrypted from the database user. So from the previous method that we used to secure our database, which is views, we don't need to use it anymore. And then the database user need not be aware of the fact that the data they are accessing is stored in encrypted form. Data is transparently decrypted from the database users and does not require an action on their part. So it is user-friendly. So our user does not have to do anything to protect the data. And applications need not be modified to handle encrypted data. Data encryption-decryption is managed by the database itself. Okay, moving on. The last method to secure our database is backup and recovery. Backup and recovery refers to the various strategies and procedures involved in protecting the database against data loss and reconstructing the database after any kind of data loss. DBMS should provide backup facilities to assist with the recovery of a database failure. There are two distinct purposes of backup. The primary purpose is to recover data after it is lost, be it by data deletion or corruption. And the secondary purpose of backup is to recover data from an earlier time. So let's say we want to retrieve data of our sales from 5 years ago. So when we have backup, the data can be easily retrieved.
Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. My name is Nurul Aina Shikin binti Ahmad Amin, metric number 252582. So I would like to present about the audit procedure for database management system. So before I go to the audit procedure, I would like to explain about the auditing environment since the procedure is one of the component of auditing environment. Okay, so there are 5 essential components of auditing environment. The first one is people. People means that the people that work in the organization, including the staff, manager, security, administrator, and auditor. The second component is objective. Objective means that objective is really important in auditing because an auditing without an objective is considered as useless. And the audit objective need to meet the organization policy, maintain the document accuracy, or meet the system goals. The third one is auditor entity. Auditor entity means that the entity that will be audited by the auditor, which includes the employee, document, processes, system, and activity. The fourth one is a procedure. Procedure is a set of step-by-step processes, instruction, regulation, and law. And the last one is a database. Since we discuss about database management system, so database is important. That includes database activity, data changes, data accuracy, data files, and operating system. Okay, next, I will go deeper to the audit procedure. Okay, first of all, why audit procedure are considered as important? The first reason is audit procedure will act as a guideline to make sure that the audit process is carried out sequentially. Sequentially means that the audit process will work in orderly. The second reason is that the audit procedure is important to ensure that the system is working and complies with the policy standard which has been set by the organization. And the third reason is that the audit procedure is important to ensure the step-by-step instruction are documented ahead of time so that it will be easier for the auditor to detect error and make a correction later. Okay, so next, the auditing processes, which also known as the audit procedure, will ensure that the system is working and complies with the policy and standard which has been set by the organization. So basically, auditing is not same as a performance monitoring. So if there is a question mentioned whether the auditing is same as performance monitoring? The answer is actually no, because the objectives are totally different. The main objective of performance monitoring is to observe if there is a degradation in performance at various operation time, which is usually different from auditing. So because the function of auditing is actually to validate whether the system complies with the policy and the organization standard. Okay, so this is the audit procedure. Okay, audit procedure will start with the system development life cycle. If we can see here, okay, as we know that system development life cycle is a systematic approach which break down the work into phases in order to implement a new information system. Okay, so the system will go through all of these phases, which start with the planning and then analysis, design, development, testing, and implementation. After the system go through all of these phases, it will produce a new information system here. And then what the next step the auditor need to do? The auditor need to understand the objective, the objective of audit, and ensure all the objectives are well defined. Okay, the next steps, the auditor need to review, verify, and validate the system. And the last one, the auditor need to report the audit result and document it. So all of these steps will be explained more by the next presenter. Thank you.
Next, the first part of the audit procedure, which my friend had mentioned before, is the System Development Life Cycle, which is known as SDLC. In the SDLC, the system will go through the process of development, which is from planning, analysis, design, implementation, and maintenance. One of the phases in the SDLC is QA testing. QA is quality assurance, which is designed to identify bugs in the code and make sure the system fulfills the requirements of the functional specifications. In the SDLC, there are 5 stages, which are planning, analysis, design, implementation, and maintenance. In the first stage, the auditor makes a planning. This is the most crucial step in creating a successful system. Uh, the auditor make a plan by obtain approval for project, assess feasibility, plan and schedule. The second stage is analysis. During analysis, the auditor will understand the business needs and the processing needs. The end users' requirements should be determined and documented what their expectations for the systems and how it will perform. And the third stage is design. Design phase comes after good understanding of the customer's requirement. After auditor collect the information and understanding the problem, this is where the auditor define the solution systems based on requirement and analytic decision. Next stage is implementation. It is the actual construction process after having a complete and illustrated design for the requested system. At this stage, the auditor will implement the solution into the problem by constructing, testing, training the users, and installing the new systems. And lastly, the last stage in SDLC is maintenance. In this stage, periodic maintenance for the system will be carried out just to make sure that the system is healthy and keep improving from time to time. In summarize, the first phase in audit procedure is to understand the objectives of the audit and plan a procedure to execute the auditing process. Next, the second phase is to review, verify, and validate the system according to the objectives set in the previous phase. Divergence from the auditing objectives is documented in the second phase. In the second phase also, we are observing what is happening to the system. And lastly, the last phase of the audit procedure of the database management system is to document the results of the audits and recommend changes to the system. That's all from us. Thank you.